Did you know that 700 years before the birth of Jesus, there was a man who wrote about his entire life, from the virgin birth to his suffering and resurrection, all foretold in detail? He was not a king nor a high priest, but a young man chosen by God. His name was Isaiah. When the sky tore open, there was no thunder, only light. That light poured down like the tide of the sea, breaking through the boundary between heaven and earth. People looked up in fear, unaware that in that moment God was calling one man. Not a ruler, not a priest, but a young prophet who dared to look toward heaven in a time of chaos. Isaiah. That year, the land was shrouded in fear. King Uzziah, who had reigned for 52 years, was dead, and the once prosperous kingdom had collapsed overnight. The streets of Jerusalem were filled with rumors and mourning. Priests continued their rituals without hearts. Nobles feasted without faith. The people sought help in politics, in power, in foreign alliances, yet forgot the God who had once freed them from bondage. The city was still breathing, but its soul had fallen asleep. As night fell, a wind stirred deep within the temple. Isaiah knelt alone upon the stone floor, a weight pressing upon his chest. He felt the presence of God drawing near. He lifted his eyes, and from behind the great veil burst a radiant light, fierce as 1,000 suns. The air trembled, and a voice thundered out of nothingness, echoing through heaven and earth. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is filled with his glory. Isaiah trembled and fell to the ground, tears streaming down his face. Woe is me, he cried, for I am a man of unclean lips. Then a seraph flew toward him, holding a burning coal taken from the altar, and touched his lips. Pain seared through his body, but so did freedom. Your sin is forgiven, your guilt taken away, said the voice, gentle yet unshakable. In the reflection of the flames, Isaiah saw himself truly for the first time. And then came a question that shook the heavens. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Isaiah raised his head, trembling, and whispered with all his strength, Here am I, Lord. Send me. At that moment, destiny turned a new page. Isaiah was called to be the voice of God, to speak truth in an age drowning in fear and rebellion. He stepped out of the temple. The streets were still noisy, children crying, merchants shouting, soldiers gathering, but faith remained silent. Isaiah began to speak. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like a blade. You have ears but do not hear, eyes but do not see. Your hearts have grown hard. You worship idols and have forgotten your Creator. The crowd stopped. Some sneered, some threw stones, a few hesitated. His friend Jeremiah grabbed his arm. No one will listen to you. Isaiah looked at him calmly and replied, Perhaps. But truth does not disappear just because the world refuses to hear it. The kingdom sank deeper into chaos. War burned at the borders, and King Ahaz was paralyzed by fear. Isaiah was summoned to the royal palace. Standing before the trembling king, his words echoed through the golden hall. The Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and his name shall be called Emmanuel, God with us. Laughter broke out among the nobles. Impossible, scoffed the king. A virgin bearing a child? Are you mocking me? Isaiah stayed silent, his eyes fixed on the flickering altar flame. He had already seen it, a woman wrapped in light, holding a newborn in her arms, the glory of God shining upon her. He knew that vision would one day change the course of all humanity. He walked out into the cold night. The wind cut through Jerusalem like a blade, yet his heart was on fire. He kept preaching. In the markets, in the valleys, at the temple gates, people mocked him. Another madman, another prophecy. Still he persisted, for God had shown him a greater vision. He saw a servant, a gentle yet wounded figure, bearing the sins of many in silence. Isaiah's heart broke as he wrote, He was pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Tears streamed down his face. He could not understand why divine redemption had to come through such pain. A few nights later, he saw the vision again. The servant was nailed to wood, blood pouring as darkness swallowed the sky. The crowd mocked, angels wept. Then light broke forth once more. The servant stood alive. Isaiah could barely breathe. He saw him risen from death, calm and glorious. The voice spoke again. He shall see the fruit of his suffering and be satisfied. My righteous servant will justify many. Isaiah wrote with trembling hands. For the first time he saw death defeated. From then on, he no longer proclaimed only judgment, but hope. He told the people, ashes will become crowns, mourning will turn into joy, captives will be set free, the broken will be healed. He saw the future city reborn, filled with singing and sunlight. He heard the words, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to bring good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives. Isaiah wept, for that was the answer he had waited for all his life. God had not abandoned humanity. Years passed, his hair turned white, his hands shook, yet he kept writing. He dreamed of a new heaven and a new earth, no pain, no death, no tears. He saw the wilderness bloom, the mountains sing, and every lost soul embraced by light. He wrote, behold, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered. He saw Jerusalem restored, light shining from the east, and God saying, darkness covers the earth, but my glory will rise upon you. When Isaiah awoke, his robe was wet with tears. He understood at last, God's plan was never destruction, but rebirth. Morning light spilled into his room. He sat by the window, watching the ruins glow gold beneath the sun. He smiled and whispered to his disciples, from ashes will rise oaks of righteousness. From night will come the dawn. Then he took up his pen one last time and wrote, Lord, your word will never fail. Your salvation will reach the ends of the earth. That day his hand grew still, but his words crossed centuries. Centuries later, everything he foretold came true. In Bethlehem, a virgin conceived. The Prince of Peace was born. On Calvary, the suffering servant was nailed to the cross. 3 days later, the tomb was empty. Death had lost its power. Every word Isaiah had written 700 years before was fulfilled. His prophecies became the blueprint of the gospel. Today, when you open the book of Isaiah, do not read it as an ancient legend. It is a letter from God to humanity, a promise to every soul that still seeks the light. Maybe you are standing in your own wilderness, asking why there is pain, why there is waiting. Remember what Isaiah saw. Ashes will bloom again, darkness will fade, and light will return. Even now, God is still asking the same question. Whom shall I send? And this time, he is waiting for your answer. If you hear that calling, whisper from your heart, here am I. Because faith is not blind comfort, it is courageous surrender. Share this story so that others too may see that eternal light which has never gone out.